Hi, everybody. I'm Rick McDonald. I'm the chairman of the Executive Advisory Board for ketteQ. And my background begins here in Atlanta. I was born here, went to Georgia Tech, played a little bit of baseball. And when I figured out I couldn't hit a Division I curveball, it was time to get a real job. So I went to work for Frito-Lay and worked in 5 different manufacturing plants over 10 years. And then I moved to Clorox. And 32 years later, I exited the company. I retired in September. I was the chief supply chain officer responsible for 6,000 employees globally with the remit of procurement through to the customer store shelf. And really a great career with the Clorox company. Love the company and love the people I work with. And now I'm moving on into my next chapter. And that chapter looks like keynote speaking and board advising, some mentoring, trying to learn how to play golf, not well. And doing fun things with fun people. I think one of the biggest challenges is we're all trying to operate at the speed of the consumer. And what that means is, none of us are going to give up the convenience of same day, next day, 2-day, at worst case, in most cases, 3-day shipping. And that means that the buying cycle is accelerated. It means that visibility to quality data is really, really key and important. And in supply chain planning right now, there's not great visibility to that data. They're not necessarily great tools, with the exception of the ketteQ platform, with which you can generate multiple scenarios simultaneously to come out with the most optimal solution for the problem that you're trying to solve. So I think this idea of speed, visibility, and capability of the tools are the 3 most pressing issues. Well, first of all, there are going to continue to be black swan and gray swan events. This level of disruption is going to continue. And if you look back the last 10 years, there are 30 or 40, maybe more discrete events around the world that have disrupted supply chains. And so the biggest challenge is doing what you can to be resilient, but also figuring out how to be agile once the disruption has occurred. And I was at a conference recently, and Tom Goolsbee from the Haslam School at the University of Tennessee said being resilient is good and being agile is better. And I agree with him. So I'm most excited about the use of artificial intelligence and demand sensing, really anticipating what the customer is going to want, when they're going to want it, where they're going to want it. And again, this idea of operating at the speed of the customer is a really important concept. And what I like about it is it's going to take a lot of the guesswork out of demand forecasts. I've got some experience in looking at demand forecasting with that lens towards artificial intelligence on the front end, demand sensing. And in the forecast that we applied it to, we improved our forecast accuracy by about 15% over the best the humans could do. So I really believe that's going to be an unlock and a real game changer for companies that move down this path of demand sensing and leveraging the artificial intelligence capabilities. Well, I think, if I compare ketteQ to legacy tools in this space, even those that get a lot more publicity and are known, differently. And I would say the biggest difference and why ketteQ is disruptive is this idea of being able to have millions of simultaneous potential solutions running, and then coming up with the optimal solution set for a demand and supply problem that you're trying to solve. That is a big differentiator versus the other legacy systems that are really more one at a time scenario evaluations. Well, it's interesting, and everything is a cycle, isn't it? We've had different operating models. We've had offshoring. Now we're getting back into nearshoring and reshoring. And I think the supply chain is one of the most fungible parts of an enterprise, in that we're flexible enough to figure out how we can marry up quality, cost, customer service in a way that improves the business outcomes for our enterprise, at the same time delivering, most importantly, what our customers want and when they want it. And so over time, the level of capability in the supply chain strategy space has really improved. Leveraging digital twins, being able to sort out how to participate in a global economy, figuring out what geographies are right for your company to manufacture in, and then leveraging that to the benefit of the enterprise and to your end customers. First of all, the labor and talent shortage, and I'm talking about skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled labor. This is a real issue. It's a worldwide issue, and so that is going to have to be attended to by those that want to continue to compete. And one of the ways I think it's going to be attended to is by improving the number of digital assets that are deployed to solve the problems that each of us have in our supply chains. That's a challenge right now, and a lot of the digital transformation business cases are not paying out. My thesis on that is either the wrong problem was picked or the brand owner manufacturer didn't understand the problem they were trying to solve. They may have gotten sold some gear that wasn't particularly good at solving the problem they have, or they did a poor job of change management in executing that transformation, the implementation of that technology. And so I think solving this labor issue is going to require a different mix of people assets and digital assets. It's going to have to shift more to digital assets to make up for the lack of talent, lack of skills. I think that's number one. I think number two is we're all going to have to pay a much better job, pay much more attention to the quality of our data. Many of us do not revere the data that we have, and there's a lot of it, the data that we have with the reverence that we should have. Yeah, I think those two are going to go hand in hand. I'm not a believer that we're going to get to some automated, autonomous supply chain in total over time. I don't see that occurring. I always believe you're going to need human intelligence to sort and sift and curate the insights that the agents are developing. I certainly believe, given the right construct, the agents are going to be incredibly useful at making decisions towards the furtherance and achievement of goals. At the same point in time, the human factor in terms of setting those goals, transitioning those goals as necessary as events become apparent, new events occur, that's going to be an important consideration as we move forward. Yeah, well, in many cases, they rely on historical data. They don't take into account current data, current events, and usually when forecasts are inaccurate, it's not because of the historical aspects of that data or that profile. It's something new has happened. Something in the external world has influenced that supply chain, that brand, those SKUs to move in a different direction, whether it's improved volume or reduced volume. And so I think the probabilistic model really gives you just a very limited view of the supply chain and a very limited view of what to anticipate as you move forward. And I'll bring this right back to operating at the speed of the consumer. With that limited view, if the consumer shifts in a noticeable direction, in a material direction, you're not likely to be able to respond and react quickly enough to be with your products at the right time, at the right place, and the right quantity. Well, I think this really starts with the leader's mindset. My point of view is we spend a lot of time talking about tools and capabilities. They're the bright, shiny objects in the corner. We love them. We don't always know what they do as supply chain operators and orchestrators, but we're trying to learn what they do. And I think what has to happen is the digital fluency of the leaders of these supply chains must improve. And that's the mindset part of things. The digital tools are actually the least important of the mindset, skill set, tool set, and change management of how you transform your supply chain. And so the leader mindset is really the key to advancing digitally and making sure that transformations are effectively engineered so you deliver the ROI, you solve the problem you intended to solve. Oh my gosh. It's kind of hard to boil it down to one thing. But I think doing what we're doing with the people we're doing it with, this is a great group of individuals and a very talented group of individuals who've got a mission to help improve demand and supply planning in CPG and other industries. And I think the opportunity for success here is fantastic. And I'm just really proud and honored to be part of such an amazing intellectual group, but also a group that has a bias for action and operates with urgency. I think that's one of the critical things. And again, when Mike and I talked about the opportunity, that was one of the things that had me drawn to ketteQ. The technology is great, but the people are really what make the difference.